Hey, welcome to Gold's Garage again. So this is second of three Pontiacs. The first one that belonged to Joe Fernandez, we dynoed on last Saturday. There's a video about that already. Basically a stock build with a Summit 2802 cam. And so Joe's made 369 horsepower, I think, and 450 some foot-pounds of torque. So ran good. Joe's got it at back to his shop now. He's putting it in the car. So this one belongs to Merrick Hanger, and we made videos. I think we called this was in a machine shop rip-off. The original video when Merrick brought it to me last year, it was actually in 2023. And we came to the conclusion there wasn't any attempt to rip anybody off, but the engine had some problems. And so here's the things that Merrick has: a 1970 Pontiac GTO 4-speed convertible air conditioning car. So a pretty rare piece, and Merrick's pretty fussy. He wants everything to be right. And so here was his issues. It had noisy valve lifters. It had a severe oil leak on the rear main seal. It did a lot of pinging and detonating under load, and had a popping coming back through the carburetor. Now, the engine came to me in multiple pieces, totally disassembled, so I had to kind of figure out what was going on. So here's what we've done. To deal, first of all, with the pinging, we measured the quench. The piston was down the hole quite a ways. I forget the total numbers, but we had quench well in the 60,000, 7-inch. So we took the block to West Lorne Machine Shop, had it completely cleaned because Merrick had an issue that there may be debris in it. So we had a completely hot tank, Magnaflux, and we decked it 18 thousandths of an inch. That brought our quench back down into the 40s, I think mid 40s. And so that's with the right head gasket, of course. And that was the right thing to do for address the pinging of it. The valve lifters, it had a comp, one of those comp cams. I forget the number of it, but I think the HE series, XE series, which the fast off the ramps, and sometimes they seem to be noisy. So we replaced the cam with a Crower 60918, and have the numbers. We'll put a snapshot of the box here with all the numbers on it. Very, very similar. Mike says it's actually the same as the Summit 2802. In that range anyway, 445, 465, 112 LSA, but actually 290, 300 degrees duration. So relatively soft ramps if it's got that kind of duration. So, and I believe it's a Johnson high lift valve lifters. And those, as far as you know, are as good as you can get. And so I've installed that cam. Cam is installed on the center line. I did not advance or retard it. So what are the other issues? The oil leak. It had the engine was disassembled, but the rope seal was still in there on the crankshaft. So I replaced that with the BOP one-piece seal, and that's been done. That addresses the leaks. By the way, I've already started this engine. So what we're going to do today, I couldn't wait. I wanted to get this thing going, so I started it this morning. It's already been through 3 heat cycles. Essentially, the cam's already broken in. After each heat cycle, I check the valves. So we're going to do that for you, show you how easy that is to do, and then we're going to fire it up one more time. The other thing, Merrick said it had a popping in through the carburetor, back through the carburetor, and so I checked the leak down on all the cylinders, and number 1 intake valve was leaking pretty bad, so I just basically lapped that valve in place, and the numbers came out pretty good. So those are the 4 things. Now, in the process of starting it up, I've talked about this before, we've done startups before. We fire it up, bring it up to temperature, 180 to 200 degrees or so, shut it down, let it cool down. While it's doing that, check all the valves, just to make sure everything's good. So the first cycle only takes 7 or 8 minutes, not even 10 minutes. And so check the valves, let it cool down, do that again, check the valves again. So we're going to show you the process of checking the valves. It doesn't take very long. You don't have to reset them all. You just have to check them. So I'm going to do that now. So the first thing we need to do is know what cylinder we're at. So we need to get the engine at top dead center. So if Alec wants to come around here, not going to turn the ignition on this side, Alec. Now you notice the belt I'm using looks a little sloppy, but it actually drives the water pump. And I just didn't want to go back to the auto parts store for another one. So we'll shine a little light down in there. So I want to find number 1 or get top dead center at least. So we can do that by just bumping it over. Close enough. That's actually close enough. So when you check valves, you just have to be sure that you're not on the lift part of the lobe, and the cam is off the lift part of the lobe for more than half the time. So plus or minus a few degrees is fine. So the next thing, I don't know whether I'm at number 1 or number 6 because it comes up twice, right? So we have to take the distributor off just enough so we can see that. So I'm going to do that fast for you. And then we'll know. If it's at number 6, we'll start at number 6. It doesn't really matter where it is. We just have to know where it is. So it is at number 6. So number 1 is over here. Number 1 cylinder is marked on the cap. Number 6 is over there. So we're at number 6 cylinder, not number 1. Cap back on. There we go. Cap back on. And the next thing we got to do is get the valve covers off, right? So I shut this engine down probably half an hour ago. I had it right up to temperature, so it's cooled down quite a bit. Enough that I can touch the valves anyways. So next thing we got to do is get the valve covers off. So turn the power back off, starting at number 6. First of all, you got to get the right socket. I think it's 1/2 inch. Yep. Okay. Right socket. That helps. This side. This is something that I recommend if you're breaking into cam. I check it after the first time it gets up to temperature, because if there's something going wrong and you run it a full 20 minutes or more, the longer you run it, the more damage is going to get done, the more shrapnel is going to be in your oil. So the sooner you know if there's an issue, the better. You don't drop something inside. Valve covers off. So we're at top dead center, number 6. Once again, it doesn't really matter where it is as long as we know where it is. Get that valve cover off. There we go. So 6 is here. Nice and tight. So what's the firing order? 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2, right? So we have to go to 5 next. Turn the power back on. Go. 5. You just have to know if you have a lifter going or a cam going, this clearance will be really sloppy, and that's how it'll tell you. So 6, 5. Next is 7. 7. So fortunately, the timing, the harmonic balancer is marked every 90 degrees, and if it's not, I usually mark it myself before I assemble the engine, so it makes it easy to do that. So we did 7, now we're going to go 90 more degrees. 2, and the next time around will be 1. EDC, 1 is good. 8. Good. 4. 3. Good. Valves are all good. That is the 3rd time I've done this. So we'll get the valve covers back on for you, and the next clip we will start it up. In the previous clip of this video, I described Mary Hanger's 400 Pontiac engine and all the issues that it had and what things we had done to address it. I adjusted the valves on set, and I started give you a display how to do that. And so subsequently I said I was going to start it up. I did start it. It ran fine, and I was going to publish that as a video. End of story. And since then, a whole bunch of things have changed. So that clip was made about a week ago, and since then, my customer, Mary Hanger, wants to witness the startup himself. So I'm going to hold that startup so he can be here when we do that. So a few issues, a little background information that I think I should provide. This is a Saturday, about a week after I made the previous clip, and tomorrow I'm expecting Merrick to come here. He lives 3 or 4 hours away, so it's not an insignificant deal to get here. So just to set some context, so what do we got going on here? So we got a customer who wants to make sure that he got what he paid for, that his problems are solved. To be fair, he's had pretty frustrating experience with this engine prior to bringing it to me, and I don't know all the background. We made the previous video of it back last year when we received all the parts. I think Mike titled it, "Was it a machine shop ripoff?" It wasn't a ripoff. Things went wrong, and I don't know all the things. That was 2 or 3 years ago, by the way. So anyway, his experience hasn't been good, and he spent a lot of money. And basically, when he brought it here last year, we're kind of starting over. So on my side, I understood his plight. I accepted the project. It was a challenge to do it because, once again, it arrived in multiple pieces. All I had was a story. I did contact the original builder and got his take on it as well. And so I put together, here's my process. I put together a plan for Merrick to address all the issues in a Word document. So he had good insight into what I was going to do and agreed with that. I accepted this challenge. For some reason, I don't usually do that. I didn't ask for any deposit. I also maxed out, put a limit on how much my labor content could be. And I don't usually do that, and I'll never do it again. So far, I've financed the project, and Merrick's on his way here. And if he's satisfied with it, he's going to pay me the balance owing. And I want to get it out of here because I need the space. I got Todd's engine ready for cylinder heads. I'll have him back from Bill Little next week, and it'll be ready to start in a few days. I need the engine stand, I need the test stand, and I need that engine stand for another engine. So I want to get it out of here. I want to get paid for the work I did. I'm totally satisfied that it's going to start and run fine. So the process already, once again, after the Word document, the process along the way, I've kept Merrick informed on every step. I send him text messages regularly, pictures of every step of progress. When I got the engine running, I sent him a variety of clips of the engine running on my test stand. So he has clips of it running already, but he wants to hear it himself and be satisfied that he's going to solve this problem for good. So we got one guy that wants to get paid and another guy that wants to get his engine and be happy with it. And so that kind of sets the stage for tomorrow. We're expecting him to be here, and that'll be the next clip, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll go well, and this story will have a good ending as well. Okay, welcome back to Gold Scratch. We've already made a couple of segments for this video. So This is kind of the moment of truth. So I got my customer here, Merrick Hanger, and his wife Marlene, and this engine he wants to see the startup of it. And so the story is, I did start it, like say April the 3rd for the first time. This is 11, 12 days later or whatever. And Merrick wants to see it run himself. So since then, I did change it had self-locking nuts on the rocker arms, and I bought polylocks because I didn't really trust them. So it has not been started since then. So we're going to fire it up, see how it runs, and do a few checks. So Merrick's got some questions.
Yeah, when we spoke, I was going to ask you how previous build was.
Well, here's the deal, and I did kind of cover this in the first segment of the video. So I think you told me that there's 4 or 5 things. So one was you had a severe leak in the rear main oil seal. So I put a BOP seal in it, and it's so far absolutely no leaks whatsoever. You had a popping back through the carburetor. So I checked the leak down, and number 1 cylinder intake valve was leaking pretty bad. So I sealed that, fixed that. The camshaft you said was noisy, it sounded like a typewriter, so we put a different cam. It's a Crower. You know the number, Merrick? 6.8 Crower, what, 6?
Not this one.
You don't know the number, or you don't? It's not a Crower?
I don't know the number.
Oh, okay. So we changed cam and lifters. We used the Johnson High Lift lifters. And what was the other problem? Noisy, you said there's a lot of shrapnel in the oil. On the block, so I had the block hot tanked and cleaned. And the other thing was it detonated a lot, you told me. So one of the issues with that was your piston was down the hole 30 thou or so. With the standard head gasket, you got too much quench. You need to have your quench down in the range of 45 to 50 thou. So that's why I had your block decked 18 thou 7-inch, and that gets your quench right into the range that you need it. And that should address, because it is a fairly high compression, it's about 9, almost 10 to 1 compression ratio, which is fine if the quench is right. You got to use good fuel with it, but it should be fine once the quench is, because too much quench will give you symptoms of detonation, basically. So that's the 4 things that I addressed. The dirty in the oil, I think that's all 5 things that we addressed. So you had a distributor that you said you didn't really trust, so we put an HEI 1-wire electronic distributor in it. I've used probably 10 or 12 of those already with good results. That's pretty much what my standard distributor. So Merrick did bring me his Holly carburetor, but we didn't have the hardware to adapt it. So this is one of my shop carburetors, just an Elderbach carburetor, just to start it up. So ready to go? Yes. Oh, hang on. Make sure I get fuel in there. There we go. Hasn't been started for a week, so. Melts a little loose. We'll get it warm and let it idle for you, okay? I'll give you this. That's how you check your lifter. You got exhaust leaks here, that's all.
That's fine, but no, it's
Just exhaust. There's no gaskets in there or anything. I just bolted it together.
lots of oil pressure. Yeah. That's only 30 weight oil in your tube.
Okay.
Not 2050 is 30 weight oil. What do you got RPM here now? You're down like 700 RPM. Watch yourself, Larry. Sure throttle, you can pull it as much as you want. Help yourself. This is quick because the belt's loose, eh? Huh? Yeah. There's no gaskets in there at all. I just bolted just enough so it doesn't make too much noise, eh? You're worried about is your valve lifters. They're nice and quiet.
So those are fine.
That's the important part, right? I need you to go like this.
What was that?
I said I need you to go like this.
Oh yeah, I'm going like that. Yeah.
There we go. You're all set.
Oh, do you want to see the vacuum? I'll do a vacuum for you if you want. This doesn't take long though. But see, the problem when it's cold, it won't run with the vacuum open. Okay, so without vacuum, you're losing your vacuum advance when I do this. I'm unhooking your vacuum advance to get a port. So now we have no vents in the engine. So I got to turn the ignition up, or turn the throttle up because it won't idle as good without the advance working. Okay. Always use your vacuum advance. Okay, stand back. I'm going to start it again.
It's in the green zone. It's in the green. That's as good as it gets.
It's got lots of vacuum. So, okay, so.
Oh my God, he's being terrible. I gotta go.
Okay. There's 15 right there. Okay. There's
So
18.
we're up around 20.
Well, you're in the normal.
that's great vacuum.
That's as good vacuum as anybody's going to ever have.
Yeah.
You run your power brakes and all that with no problem. Okay. Yeah. This is reality YouTube. Okay. So, thanks, Mary and Marlene, for coming. And you got the visual of your own engine started up and running. Yeah, we have a couple of header leaks. Like, to be fair, those mufflers are just bolted on. There's no gaskets in there or anything. It's just enough to quieten down so the neighbors don't complain, basically. So that's all. But the valve lifters, you listen to it yourself, are nice and quiet. It idles nice. It runs good. Doesn't overheat. And it's ready to go. Thank you for watching Gold's Garage. Please like and subscribe.